Have you ever noticed how easy it is to get comfortable? Not just physically, like sinking into a soft couch after a long day, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It happens quietly, gradually. One day you're driven, full of ideas, eager to grow, and then slowly you start reaching for the path of least resistance, the shorter walk, the warmer bed, the easier conversation. Comfort slips in like a gentle fog, almost invisible at first, until one day you realize you can't see as far as you used to. Comfort feels good. That's why it's so dangerous. It disguises itself as self-care, as rest, as normal life. It whispers, "You deserve this," and sometimes you do. But over time, that same comfort can start to erode your edge. It dulls your hunger, softens your resilience, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, it kills ambition. The Stoic philosophers understood this long before smartphones, heated homes, or streaming platforms existed. They warned that the pursuit of comfort often leads to the decay of character. Not because comfort itself is evil, but because human nature, left unchecked, will always take the easier road, and the easier road rarely leads to greatness. Comfort is seductive. It offers short-term relief, but long-term stagnation. It says, why struggle when you can relax? Why climb when you can sit? And most people listen. But here's the paradox. The more you chase comfort, the weaker you become, and the weaker you become, the more you crave comfort. It's a loop, a subtle, silent loop that can trap even the strongest of minds if they're not vigilant. Chapter 1. The Silent Trap of Comfort. Most people don't fall into this trap with a loud crash. It happens quietly, like a slow leak in a boat. You don't notice at first because everything seems fine. Your job is okay, your routines are manageable, life is predictable. You tell yourself, I'll get serious later, I just need a break right now. But later keeps moving further away. The Stoics often wrote about erosion of the will, not a sudden collapse, but a gradual softening of one's inner steel. They believed that true strength wasn't tested in comfort, but in struggle. Seneca famously said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." If life is too smooth, you stop growing. If the wind never blows, the tree's roots stay shallow. In our modern world, comfort is more available than at any other time in human history. We can get food delivered without leaving bed. We can communicate without speaking face to face. We can be entertained 24/7 with endless content. We can avoid discomfort so completely that entire years can pass without facing a real challenge. And yet, despite all this, anxiety, dissatisfaction, and a sense of emptiness keep growing. Why? Because the soul doesn't thrive in comfort, it withers. Imagine a warrior who trains every day, sharpens his sword, keeps his body ready. Then one day he says, "I've earned a rest," and puts his sword down. A day turns into a week turns into a season. When the next battle arrives, his sword is rusty and his reflexes are slow. He's not weak because the enemy got stronger, he's weak because he stayed too comfortable for too long. Most of us are that warrior. Our battles are different, not fought with swords, but with decisions, habits, dreams, and discipline. And when comfort becomes our default, those inner muscles, willpower, focus, perseverance, begin to atrophy. The trap of comfort is silent because it never demands anything. It just waits. It waits for you to lower your guard, to postpone your growth, to trade today's effort for tomorrow's regret. And the moment you do, it tightens its grip a little more. Chapter 2. The Stoic View. Why comfort was always seen as dangerous. For the Stoics, comfort wasn't just a luxury, it was a test. They lived in times when survival itself required effort. But even then, the greatest philosophers trained themselves to seek out discomfort intentionally. Why? Because they understood that the mind grows soft when life grows too easy. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, lived in palaces surrounded by servants. He had access to every comfort the Roman world could offer. And yet, in his private journal, he constantly reminded himself to stay humble, to wake early, to endure the cold, to face hardship without complaint. He didn't do this because he lacked comfort. He did it because he feared what comfort could do to his character. Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest men, practiced voluntary poverty. For a few days each month, he'd live simply, eat the cheapest food, wear rough clothes, and sleep on the floor. Not because he needed to, but because he wanted to remind himself, this is what I fear, this is what I try so hard to avoid. It was a deliberate act of rebellion against the seduction of luxury. He believed that if you choose discomfort, life's forced discomforts will never break you. Epictetus, born a slave, warned his students that comfort breeds dependency. He believed that a free mind isn't one that avoids hardship, but one that faces it willingly. He often told his followers to rehearse difficulties in their minds, to prepare their spirits for inevitable challenges. This was the Stoic way, to treat comfort not as an entitlement, but as a variable. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, but your strength should never depend on it. Now look at our world. Every small inconvenience is treated like a crisis. A slow internet connection, a warm room without air conditioning, a line at the coffee shop. These tiny discomforts irritate us more than real hardships once did. We've been trained, subtly, to expect ease, and when ease is interrupted, we collapse emotionally. The Stoics would see this and shake their heads, not out of judgment, but out of understanding. They'd say, "You've forgotten what made humans strong." Chapter 3. Modern Comfort versus Ancient Struggle. In ancient times, discomfort was part of daily life. Fetching water, surviving the cold, walking long distances, enduring hunger, these weren't optional challenges. They were normal. People grew up with discomfort woven into their existence, and because of that, they developed resilience, grit, and a certain calm acceptance of hardship. Today, discomfort is seen as an error, something to be fixed immediately. If you're cold, turn up the heat. If you're bored, unlock your phone. If you're tired, skip the work. We've built a society designed to remove friction at every step. And while that has improved convenience, it's also quietly removed the natural training grounds where character was once forged. The result is a strange paradox. We live softer lives, but face harder internal battles. We have more comfort than emperors once did, but less resilience than peasants. We avoid pain, but in doing so, we become fragile. And fragile souls shatter easily. This doesn't mean comfort is evil. It means that comfort, if left unexamined, can become a silent enemy. The Stoics weren't against enjoying good things. They were against depending on them. They trained themselves to enjoy comfort when it came, but not to need it to function. They could sit on a throne or sleep on the ground. Their strength stayed the same. So ask yourself, when discomfort enters your life, a setback, a delay, a physical challenge, how do you respond? Do you retreat, complain, postpone? Or do you lean into it, seeing it as training rather than punishment? The truth is, modern life won't train you for discomfort unless you choose it. It won't hand you resilience. You must build it deliberately. And that leads us to something the Stoics practiced daily, something modern people have almost forgotten: the art of voluntary discomfort. Chapter 4. The Art of Voluntary Discomfort. The Stoics believed that strength isn't built when life is easy. It's built when you choose to make life harder than it has to be. Not because suffering is noble, but because comfort without contrast breeds weakness. Voluntary discomfort is the conscious decision to step outside what feels easy, safe, and predictable. It's fasting when food is available. It's taking the stairs when the elevator is right there. It's waking before dawn when you could sleep in. It's doing the thing your mind resists, simply to remind yourself that you can. Seneca practiced it through poverty, Marcus Aurelius through discipline, Epictetus through endurance, and you, in this modern age, can practice it through small, deliberate acts of resistance against comfort. It's not about rejecting pleasure or living like an ascetic. It's about remembering who's in control, you or your impulses. Because every time you choose discomfort, you reclaim power from the part of you that wants to stay small. You teach your mind that it can endure and even thrive when things aren't easy. The cold shower, the hard workout, the difficult conversation, the delayed gratification, each of these is a form of voluntary discomfort, and each one strengthens the muscle of will. In a world obsessed with convenience, this practice is a quiet rebellion. And rebellion, in the Stoic sense, isn't against the world, it's against your own weakness. Chapter 5. The Strength Hidden in Struggle. Discomfort reveals truth. It strips away illusions, excuses, and self-deception. When life gets difficult, you see who you truly are, not who you pretend to be. That's why the Stoics didn't fear hardship. They welcomed it, not because they enjoyed pain, but because they saw struggle as the most honest teacher. When everything is going your way, your virtues go untested. You can believe you're patient, disciplined, and kind, but only friction proves it. You only discover patience when waiting tests your limits. You only discover discipline when temptation grows strong. You only discover courage when fear stands in your way. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties show what men are." In every challenge you meet your reflection, not the one in the mirror, but the one in your soul. Modern society hides this truth behind comfort. It says, avoid pain at all costs. But Stoicism says, walk through it, because on the other side is who you're meant to become. Every obstacle, every rejection, every moment of discomfort carries a message. You are being refined. Just as metal is strengthened in fire, the human spirit hardens through resistance. The question isn't, why is this happening to me? It's, what is this shaping me into? That's the difference between the ordinary and the Stoic. One sees struggle as suffering, the other sees it as sculpting. Chapter 6. Returning to the edge. There's a moment in every person's life when they realize they've drifted too far into comfort. They stop chasing, stop growing, stop risking.
They start protecting what they have instead of pursuing what they could become. That's when the soul starts to fade. The Stoics warned that when you lose your edge, you lose your freedom. Because freedom isn't the absence of struggle, it's the ability to face struggle without breaking. To return to the edge means to reclaim that rawness, that hunger for improvement, that willingness to be uncomfortable again. It's saying, I will not let ease define me. I will not let comfort soften me. It's waking up and choosing the harder road, not because you have to, but because that's where strength lives. It's trading dopamine for discipline, distraction for direction, comfort for clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The modern translation, run toward the resistance. That's where the edge is. And every time you face that resistance, whether it's fear, laziness, or uncertainty, you sharpen yourself a little more, until one day you look back and realize comfort no longer controls you. You control it. Epilogue. The Stoics' reminder. The Stoics didn't live for comfort. They lived for character. And they knew something we've almost forgotten. The easy life weakens you, but the meaningful life challenges you. So as you move through this world of instant pleasure and endless ease, remember, the goal isn't to escape discomfort. It's to use it, to let it forge you, discipline you, and wake you up from the fog of complacency. Because in the end, comfort is temporary. But strength, real inner strength, is timeless.
Comfort will always call to you. It will whisper that you've done enough, that you've earned your rest, that you can stop now. And sometimes it will be right. Rest is part of strength. But the danger begins when rest becomes retreat, when comfort stops being recovery and starts becoming your identity. The Stoics didn't fight comfort because they hated peace. They fought it because they understood how fragile peace becomes when it's built on avoidance. They knew that the only security worth having comes from within, from a mind that has been tested, stretched, and sharpened by life itself. So when you feel the pull of ease, when your mind says, take the shortcut or do it later, pause. Ask yourself, am I choosing comfort or am I choosing growth? One leads to temporary relief, the other leads to lasting power. Every great person, every resilient soul, every Stoic who walked before us, they all made the same choice: to lean into what others avoid, to stand firm where others fold, to seek the kind of strength that only discomfort can teach. You don't have to escape comfort completely. You just have to stop letting it tame you. Because the truth is, the fire inside you was never meant to stay warm. It was meant to burn, to challenge, to forge, to illuminate the path for others lost in the fog of ease. So step forward, back into the cold, back into the climb, back into the resistance that reminds you what you're made of. That's where the Stoic lives, not in comfort, but in command.